here we are. We are currently at 46,000 feet doing Mach 0.9. This is faster and higher than any of the big commercial airliners go. Hello everyone, welcome to another video with me, 320 Sim Pilot. I'm a real-world airline pilot, and in today's video I'm very excited to show you the new FlightFX Cessna Citation X for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and Flight Simulator 2024. This is otherwise known as the C750. This is a new add-on from FlightFX. They brought us some great previous add-ons such as the Piaggio P180, which I absolutely loved, so I'm very excited to show you this in the simulator today. This add-on is of a uniquely fast, powerful business jet that can be used for cruising very high, very fast. It will go up to almost 50,000 feet. It can do Mach 0.92, which it means you can cover some fantastic distances. It's an amazing, amazing machine. It's also really interesting of an aircraft to use in the simulator because of its sort of age. It's not actually the newest airplane in the world, so it has a bespoke avionics suite that FlightFX have modelled. It first flew in 1993, brought into service in 1996, so it's from an era of aviation that I really like, and as a result it has that sort of slightly retro feel in the flight deck that keeps it in a way quite simple. It's not just a G1000 setup, it is a full-on avionics suite, and it feels like a little airliner, except it's got more performance, more speed, more height. It's really, really cool, and you can take it into more airfields as well, although it is quite big. So it's not it's not going to get in everywhere, but it is pretty good. We're going to take it for a full flight, so I'm going to show you how to set it up from cold and dark all the way through to landing. It is a more straightforward airplane than you would imagine. Don't be intimidated by its looks or the fact that it's a private jet or the fact that it's almost an airliner. All these things, if you've flown any of my other airliner tutorial videos, you'll be able to handle this aircraft, and we'll see it all in today's video. Like I say, we'll go from cold and dark. I'll take you through every switch. It's a beautifully designed machine. I really like it. Cessna brought in the C750 because the Citation family had a bit of a reputation for being slow, so they asked customers what they wanted, and more speed, pressurization, performance was what people were after, and they brought this project into fruition. This held the record for being the fastest business jet for a long, long time. So it's a mean machine, and it is a big statement if you could afford one of these and get it going and get yourself around the world in one of these. I mean, what a thing to worry about. How fast is my business jet? It's fantastic. This also has real sounds that they recorded from a real C750. It has lots of functioning systems, LCD screens or CRT screens. You've got VNAV, which works, which we'll see in today's video. There it goes. Look at it rocketing by. Fantastic. So we're going to see all of these little details about the airplane in today's video as we go through. It's selling, like I say, for Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024 at £22.16p or $29.99. Thank you to FlightFX for sending this over. They did send it to me for free, so I could bring it to you in this video, but they have not told me what to say. All thoughts and opinions are on my own. It is literally just me showing you this product. You can decide whether this is something you're interested in or not, and even if you don't want to buy it, hopefully you'll find the video entertaining as I sort of compare it to airliner flying and the differences that you get when you have a lovely luxury machine like this. Look at this. We're basically up in space at the moment, cruising along at almost the speed of sound. Fantastic. Right, let's get started. Now, as ever, we'll start off by looking around the outside of the aeroplane. You'll see that the distinctive profile of this aircraft, it has a supercritical wing designed to get it up to high speed. Cruises at Mach 92, so 92% the speed of sound. Now that might not sound that fast, but it is, trust me. Modern airliners such as the 777, which cruises at about 8.3, so 83% the speed of sound, and the 787 is a bit faster at 8.5. The 380 and 350 are sort of similar at decimal 8.5. So although they can vary around there a little bit, that's typical airliner speed. This thing is going at 9.2. It is quick. And you'd expect it to be with those two massive engines. Rolls-Royce engines, like I say, which was unusual. First Cessna Citation done for that. This aircraft was made by Cessna to sort of keep up with customer demand for high performance private jets. The Citation family of aircraft were becoming known or expected to be a little bit slower than the competition, and they built this as a way to provide that fast aircraft option for the discerning passenger jet customer. I mean, I wish that could be a concern of mine, how fast my private jet is, but there we go. So this is the external model that FlightFX had brought us. As ever, for a business jet add-on, I'm not surprised to see that it is immaculately clean. That's not always my sort of thing, but that's because I'm from the airliner world, where airplane cleanliness is not considered a particularly important thing. It is often treated... They're not clean very often, airliners. They're hard-working. Whereas private jets are meant to look immaculate. They can be a bit of a statement about your position in life. So it's no surprise that people keep them very, very clean, and operators of them will constantly scrub them down. And if you see them in real life, yep, this is typically how shiny they look. There's no point showing up in a dirty business jet, is there? So the modelling looks great. It matches the aesthetic of the airplane, the silhouette of the airplane, and as we move in closer, you'll see that we do have lots and lots of details on the 3D model. We've got these little vents and so on. They've had access to a real aircraft, I believe, so they've had a lot of details gone into this. And as you get closer, you even have the decals, which is something I'm always looking for, just making sure there's that extra level. And as you come into the gear, you know, look at this, all the decals I want to see. I think they make a massive difference to the add-on feeling like a legitimate aircraft. Tires and hubcaps also good giveaways, look very nice indeed. It is, I think, quite a pretty looking airplane, although I can understand that everyone has their own views on that, but it's quite well proportioned with, like I say, that big engines on the back there, and that nice big high T-tail and the lovely swept back wing. As you move around, you can see the I believe these are the window defoggers on the front, and then you can see actually the fans there. Look at that for keeping the air flowing over them as well. And as we move around, pitot covers are currently installed. We can see the wing shape. Wing is absolutely critical in design of these aircraft to get them up to speed and to keep them efficient enough to be able to make any sort of decent journey without burning through all their fuel. So we have lovely sharklets on the end or wingtips on the end as well. And like I say, as you move in, lots of details on here. So yeah, I'm very happy with the external model for what I like my aircraft to look like. Like I say, very clean, but that's not surprising. The chrome on these airplanes is usually kept immaculate, especially because it's such a bling statement, isn't it? That your engine intakes need to be clean. Remember as well, these private jets often end up sitting around if they're privately owned by an individual. So that's when they spend their time getting cleaned and kept immaculate for when that super wealthy person wants to take it out. It's a gorgeous shape, isn't it? Look at that T-tail. Reminds me of the old VC 10. Fantastic. Relatively high bypass ratio on the engines for a private jet. It was designed to be a bit quieter and a bit more efficient. They are just huge as a result. It's amazing the scale of the engines on this aeroplane. Chocks are in place. You can also have a ground power unit from the onboard EFB, but there we go. Absolutely lovely. Let's jump inside. So we'll go for a brief browse of the cabin. It's an absolutely stunning cabin. Look at, I love the carpet, sort of marble effect carpet. Very comfy seats, and I believe in true FlightFX fashion, we can have a full pizza lunch, which is fantastic, just like we could on our Piaggio. Absolutely brilliant. Better stow that for takeoff and landing, though. We will enjoy that shortly. It's full of details. It's ridiculous. So I believe this will be the bathroom back here somewhere. Yes, there we go. There's a sink. So it's just a lovely cabin, this, and lots and lots of clickable things as we go through. When we come up to the front, is that little screen? I didn't know it had that in-flight screen. Oh, sorry, this is my mouse dragging me around. Let's go up to the front, and you can even go through the drawers. Get yourself some hand sanitizer, some fresh croissants, some cold drinks, some bedding. Brilliant. Just love it. It's always cool to sort of look around the FlightFX aeroplanes. So the cabin's been modelled to a very nice detail, and into the cockpit. Quite a big cockpit. Seems quite tall. This is not a small aeroplane by any means, which is quite nice, and it does have a door we can close up. Oh, this is my computer and my mouse confusing things. So let's go back. Okay, so there we go. On the inbuilt EFB, we can get the airplane set up now. So this is our default page, shows us the current weather and QNH. We're going with live weather unusually today, but I thought we might as well, as it looks quite, I quite like the clouds today. It looks quite nice out there. First of all, I'm going to go to the config page and just set some things up. So what I've got in here is the IRS align speed, passenger visibility, Yeah, pause at top of descent. And we're going with the CRT screens. You can swap them out for LCD, but I want CRT, obviously. Slightly more old school, but that's typical for how I like things on the channel. I think that's a bit... Yeah, I think they look really good. I'll show you in a moment why they look so nice. You can also do some noise reduction and have auto throttle, but we're not going to have auto throttle on R1 just to keep it interesting. You can choose a panel state. I'm going to select cold and dark, and choose your units. I'm going kilograms, Celsius, hectopascals. You then can calibrate your throttles, so minus set, which I'll talk about later, and I've chosen pizza for our lunch. Excellent. Back to the main menu then, we can also go to weights and set up the airplane accordingly. So you can import from SimBrief, but I'm going to go with a 50% load of fuel and apply that. Actually, we probably don't even need that. No, we'll go 25% load of fuel and apply. And with passengers, I've got, with luggage, let's put 120 kilos of luggage on. That's quite a lot of bags, but I would imagine a rich person would have that. And let's put in some passengers. Oh, I see. So we got 2 pilots, and now we're going to have a passenger there, someone sitting opposite them to have a chat, and perhaps we'll have one opposite them as well, so they've got someone to talk to. Good. So now we have a bit of a load of the aeroplane. So we'll use this page later as we set up the performance. Very straightforward. Something I want to be clear, this airplane is not too difficult, so you can actually take it from cold and dark. I wasn't going to do it full cold and dark. I thought it'd be too tricky, but it's a really well-designed airplane, and you'll see that. This avionics suite is custom by FlightFX, and it really pays off. It's rather fantastic. We can also put a Navigraph for the charts. I'm not going to worry too much about charts today. But ground services we'll go back to. I'm going to close up the main door now we're on board and remove the instrument covers. We'll close up the luggage door and we'll leave the chocks for now just until we have no, parking brakes on. We'll get rid of the chocks as well. Good. So that is done. I can get rid of that for now. And now we're left with our aeroplane. It's time to power it up. Now, a crucial feature for me, the inbuilt checklist when learning a new airplane, and it does indeed work. You can click on an item and you can view it as well, and it will take you to it. But for today's video, I'm going to show you the full thing as we go, because like I say, it's actually quite straightforward. So we're going to power on the electrics of the airplane by going to the standby power switch that's down here on a power panel. And we take standby power, which is down here, and move it to on. You hear a few things come to life. Tick. Emergency light switch can go to arm. That is over here, so we'll arm that in the up position, and then we'll turn on battery 1 and battery 2. We now have some electrical power to the airplane, but we're draining those batteries quickly. It's a bit like turning on the ignition in your car without starting the engine, so we need to get some power coming soon. We'll turn on the ICAS power, and that allows the airplane to have some basics so we can see the engines and so on when we need to get them started, see some systems of the airplane as well. Now it's time to start up the APU. So if we get rid of this yoke, the APU panel is tucked away over here. This is a little auxiliary power unit. This is integrated into the back of the airplane, and we can use this to get electrical power on the ground, like I say, before we run out of battery power. So to do that, it's quite straightforward. We've got battery 1 and battery 2 switches are already on. The left-hand fuel boost switch is in normal, and the APU starter disengage switch is in normal. That's down here. So we're going to put the APU master switch to on. Give it just a second to think about its life, and then we're going to test it. We get the warnings, we get the screen go to its test page, so that's all looking good. Now that's done, we're going to turn on the APU generator so that it provides electrical power when it's available, and we have enough DC volts, 28.2, to start it, so let's put it to start. See APU RPM spinning up, and the exhaust gas temperature, it's already lit up, and that is at the back here of the airplane. You can hear it's powering on. Lovely sound effects. Like I say, lots of sound effects on this aeroplane recorded from the real thing. That's good. Bleed valve is open. It's because we actually have bleed air already on. So we're using that to provide air conditioning, and we'll be able to use that for the engine starting. Load shed switch to norm. GPU we're not using, that's a ground power unit, and we just check that the ammeter is okay, so we're not overloading anything, nothing unusual going on. Bleed air switch on for engine start. Pretty straightforward indeed. So APU has started. We can now, as we have electrical power, bring on the avionics power, because that takes quite a lot. That's things like your gyroscopes and all your other screens, and you can hear them coming to life in the background there. let me just check that I have got generator on. Good. Right, so now we're going to go and align our IRSs. So put them both to nav, and they will align before they go into nav mode. So that's good. And we go to our FMS now and insert the initial position. So this is not actually the initial page. That has saved it from earlier, which is a bit unusual. So let me go to perf init. So you should typically be on a page like this, nav ident, and check it's the right database and everything, and pos init page you want. So if you get to this page, it will then ask you to enter your position. This one has already done it, but I can press load. So this last position matches my GPS position. This is the right place for where we are. So I'm going to hit load. It should, your GPS position should be correct. In the real aircraft, of course, you would check that carefully. Good. So that is enough to start with. Parking brake, make sure that is set. That's down here. So that is pulled up. So that is set. Wheel chocks removed. We've already done that. And then you would close up your doors, complete your passenger briefing, and tell everyone to secure themselves. We can put on some exterior lights as well, but actually they're all fine. So what we need to do now is just set up our avionics. So I'll just tick through these because I'll show you that very shortly, and set up our V speeds for takeoff. And then we're into starting engines. So we need to set up our departure from the airport. Now it has saved my previous flight plan, but basically from the pos init page, I would press flight plan and it would know where we're starting, and then you hit departure. I'm going to depart from, and let me just check the weather here. We can do that on our EFB. It's 310 at 9 knots. So it's a northerly wind actually, or northerly-ish. So I'm going to go for runway 01 because that's 70 degrees off. So then I'd press activate. Now there would be also the departures if you were taking off from an airfield with standard instrument departures. Then I'm going to fly to Compton and down to Midhurst, and then we'll set up an arrival into Gatwick from there. So that's now done. That is my flight plan. So you can just type these in. If I wanted to type in another point such as Biggin, I can just type in BIG, Biggin, and choose the one that's correct, and then it will appear on the flight plan. Likewise, I'm going to delete that because I'm not going to do that. Then we carry on with perf init, and it shows us the aircraft type, the tail number, and what mode we're in. Press next, and you can see the planned climb, cruise, and descent. Yes, we want max speed. Thank you very much. You can edit these by pressing on the right here and choose a different profile should you wish to. I don't see much point. I think 280 knots to decimal 75 is pretty good. So let's go back to Perth. Good. This is the transition altitude. It will be, let's put 60 in there. And with initial cruise altitude 15,000 feet. But obviously this plane can go much higher and much faster. It's got an absolutely amazing performance envelope, again, as you would expect for an aeroplane of this style. Let's have a look at its actual details. So it has a max speed of Mach 9.2. The Citation X Plus goes to 935, goodness me, and the ceiling 51,000 feet. So there you go. That's what it wants to do. It wants to just go very high, very fast, but we won't get the chance today. And now we have the performance init page, so we can choose to enter the details as we have. So let's go to our ground loading, our weight, sorry, and set this up correctly. So we have a total fuel on board of 1.5 tons of fuel. If I check over here, 1.5 tons. So let's put that in, 1460. Good. That gives us a gross weight. And how many passengers did we say we had? So passengers at 79 kilos, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 passengers. The pilots should be included in the weight. So I put 4 passengers in there. And cargo, we had 118. So I put in 118 of cargo. You could also sync CFB, would be even easier. There we go. And then I confirm in it. Then we have the planned cruise. There's a ceiling, so the maximum it wants to go to 49,000 at the moment. And we can go through to the takeoff page. We're taking off from runway 01 at Oxford. It's only 1,500 meters. It's very short, so we're going to need to be quite light to do it. The wind at the moment, let's put that wind in correctly, of 310 at 9. And I'm hoping this will work out nicely. The altimeter is 1015. And if we press next, because you're on takeoff 1 of 3, takeoff 2 of 3, dry runway, and then we'll go to takeoff 3 of 3, anti-ice off, flaps 15. We'll need flap 15 for this runway, and that's confirmed. What that would then do is bring us our takeoff data, including our V-speed, so V2 127. This will all show up on the PFD once the engines are up and running. We're also going to imagine air traffic control would give us a clearance, so we can set the heading bug to 010 for takeoff, just for our initial heading. Now, the heading bug dial is down here, but as you can see, if I'm moving the dial down on the bottom right of the screen, it's a bit of a pain. So they've really neatly, and this is where I love FlightFX aircraft, they've got the heading bug, the little screw up here, a little label on it, and you can actually just spin this one around. It just works in exactly the same way as the autopilot heading bug, because it's a real pain in the simulator otherwise. So heading 010, and this is our altitude one, which works in exactly the same way. We'll climb up to, let's climb up to 6,000 feet initially. Now this is one of those ones that accelerates when you go too fast, so I've got it just right. There we go, 6,000. And we are using the left PFD, so we're using my side for setting up the avionics, which is great. This is our autopilot panel up here, by the way. So I'm going to leave everything in standby. We'll just take off manually and then get the autopilot engaged later on. Great, so that is our route and our performance loaded up. So we can carry on now with our and our balance, weight and balance loaded up. So we'll carry on with starting the engines. So APU is already running. Pack isolation valve is over here, and that is in the closed position. Open is like that. Close is like that. Start duct pressure at least 30 psi. Right engine start. So we're going to press the starter switch down here to turn on the right engine and pretty quickly get the fuel lever to idle. So start. You would of course check it's clear outside. You can see everything spinning, and I need to get that throttle forwards, so it's at idle. Which it was. There you go. It wasn't a cutoff. So now it should start properly. Excellent. As we continue through the checklist, we've started the engine. Throttle is at idle. N1 is, and oil pressure have all risen. You would see those, of course, on here. So there's our oil temperature and our oil pressure. And hydraulic pressure has also arrived. So now we have hydraulic pressure because this is a primarily hydraulic flight controlled aeroplane. So we're going to start the left engine. So start. And this one again, we need to make sure that by 10% N2, we have moved this to idle. Otherwise, it would just automatically shut down on its own. And there you go. So now we can see the oil temperature rising, and I would like to see the oil pressure rise pretty quickly. There it goes. That's rising up. And then our front fan coming to its idle position. So it's all modeled. You can see the system's working in the background. I really like it. Great, there we go. Now it says generators off left and right, so we need to sort that out. Those are down here. Left generator, right generator. That's cleared that out. So now we've taken electrical load onto the airplane's main generators, which is good news. So we have some power. So I don't need the APU bleed air anymore. I'm going to turn that off. I don't need the APU generator either. I'm going to turn that off. And I don't need the APU. So I'm just going to turn that off. Looking at that, I think I was meant to put this APU starter switch to stop. Not sure, I should have just turned it off like that because I think it ran a cooldown last time I did that. Anyway, there we go. So we're not using the APU. We are now on the engine. We're not doing a bleed method, cross bleed method. This is if you're doing one engine and then you start the other one using that first engine. We did the APU for both. So before taxi check this time, this is, like I say, a pretty simple airplane. Flight controls, full and free, and check the ICAS. So we'll bring up the flight controls. Now, we have lots of screens in this airplane, and it's really, really great to use them. And I'll show you why. This is very simple. You have these dashes along the bottom. You press one of these to see a different system. So I'm going to press control position, and I can see the controls here. And now, as I move the yoke, you'll see those arrows move. So we're just checking that they do all move correctly. So elevator, aileron, rudder. So only the bottom one should move at this stage. So that's correct. And this is to do with the backup. There's actually a split rudder. Part of it's hydraulic and part of it's electric. So there we go. We'll see that later on. Flaps and slats, we're going to set to takeoff. So we want 15 degrees today. So that's set to 15. And now you see them travel here. So flaps come down to 15 and the slats show over here on the right of the wing. Speed brakes check stowed and ICAS. So the speed brake, it does have in-flight speed brakes, which is unusual for an aeroplane, but like I say, more like an airliner. So you can move them and you actually see them up here on the little ICAS screen. We have aligned the IRSs. We have no flags. That's all working. By the way, you can see the CRT. See that fantastic sort of haze? I said I liked having the CRT on this airplane, and that's why. You can even see the slight curve on the screen itself, and you got that classic CRT sort of grain over the top of it. I don't know what it's called, but I really like it. Standby gyro uncaged, so make sure that our standby artificial horizon is uncaged and aligned. There we go. And pressurization outcell in norm. Passenger advisory lights go to passenger safety. Let me just get rid of the yoke so I can do that. And I do struggle with this switch. Where do they hide it? Where do they hide it? Seatbelts, there we go. We'll put it down to passenger safety. Excellent. So, believe it or not, we're ready to taxi. What we'll do is put the taxi light on. And all we need to do is release the parking brake, taxi out to the runway. Absolutely beautiful machine, isn't it, to see from the outside. So, releasing that parking brake, got the taxi light on, a bit of forward power, and she's moving, and then we'll go right. It should be maneuverable. We're using it in small airfields. Lots of thrust at idle. It does tend to roll away once you have it moving. It sort of keeps accelerating with that those big engines. Something worth noting, or something that I remember from seeing these aircraft taxi around, is that they quite often use idle reverse thrust when taxiing to stop themselves running away, because these engines are just so big for these airplanes. Awesome. So we're taxiing out, all looking good. And we're going to take off from runway 01. So we're going to taxi to the left here and then point northerly. And once you're in the air, I'll show you the autopilot and how to engage it. It's Max CL60, are we too big for that? Right, there's a car in the way, as there so often is. So, yeah, we will look away from that and get ourselves out to the runway. Don't think there's any way to look away from it. There it goes. There are some more settings I'm going to show you, by the way, with these screens. We're going to configure them into a way that suits us. There's lots and lots of ways to have them set up. So, yeah, it's a really great system. You'll see now that we're taxiing, both rudder panels are moving. Like I say, this small one is electrical, I believe, and the bottom one hydraulic, so you still have rudder control even in the event of a full hydraulic failure. It's just part of the redundancy of an airplane of this sort of scale. It is very much like a big airliner. And you can, if you want, put it into idle reverse. Now, I don't know if this is a normal procedure on this aircraft, but it's certainly, I have seen it used. Maybe not that much reverse. Idle reverse is all you'd use, but yeah, just stops it running away and heating up the brakes. You'll notice that the engine fan percentage is down here, and then that is going to set our markers. So when we move it to the takeoff gate, it should go to the gate it's calculated for our takeoff from here. You've also got your trimmer, which we need to set down here. So the trim, unusually, it needs to be quite nose up. That trimmer running, because it's running at the high speed and I'm holding it there. So I'm going to put the trim into the green band. It also is complaining that we haven't got all the heaters on, so I'm going to put the pitot-static heats on. So that, yeah, you obviously want those when you're getting ready to line up and take off. We're getting out to the runway now. This is a jet aircraft, so I'm going to put the landing lights on. I don't need to do any run-ups and things like that. You would test the anti-ice systems if you thought you were going to need them, but we won't be doing that today. So this is the taxi. That's all done. So before takeoff. Anti-ice systems not required today. Seatbelts are all on. Flaps and slats, we've got 15 set for takeoff. Speed brakes are definitely stowed at 0%. Trims are set for takeoff. Yaw damper and Mac trim. So I'm going to put on the yaw damper and Mac trim. They are both in A, so they are available and running. I'm not sure what A stands for, but that means they are on. Crew briefing is complete. Radar, transponder are both on. TARA. We've turned on the pitot-statics lights. Engines are all good. So we're through to takeoff. Entering the runway. It's all clear. Lights are on. We're going to just rotate at VR. That's all we need to do. Fantastic. It has a real presence, this airplane. Look at that. Again, it's the scale of the engines compared to the airplane. Also has nice slats. So it's, like I say, this is close to an airliner versus a normal sort of business jet like you'd expect it to be. Fantastic. Right, let's not waste any of the runway. Let's get going. So, stabilising the engines, about 50%. And all the way forwards, takeoff thrust. It automatically has the D10, 83.5% is set. Huge amounts of thrust in this airplane. Look at that. The acceleration is ridiculous. V1 and rotate. Up to 13 degrees initially, letting it weathercock into wind. There's 13 degrees. Positive rate. Gear up. And the speed, look at that. Speed's still climbing, so we can just let that nose come up. 20 degrees. We're going at, what are we doing? Over 4,000 feet per minute. No trouble at all. And that's what you'd expect from an airplane of this level of performance. It's just a rocket. The angle and speed at which it's going to get you where you want to go. Look at that. Awesome. But you would expect so for an airplane that we're only doing a short flight in. Okay, let's lower the nose then, and I'm going to imagine we get given a right turn to head down towards Charlie Papa Tango VOR. So we'll lower the nose, start our gentle turn, and accelerate the airplane. Bit of nose down trim required. It's an absolutely lovely airplane to hand fly from what I've tried out so far. I've really, really enjoyed it. As we get above 170, I can raise all the flaps in. Go to 5 initially. This F35 is our limiting speed for flap 35, so quite high speeds actually. So we're above 170, we're actually okay to go clean now. So we've just got some slats out. Keep the gentle right turn. That hydraulic control system keeps it very light. It does need trimming like a conventional aeroplane, but the engines are mounted in such a way that engine thrust doesn't adjust the trim too much. A little bit of nose down as you apply thrust, funnily enough. So it's very, very pleasant indeed to hand fly. I mean, it's just, yeah. You've got full control, by the way. Look at that. You can overbank it if you want to, but it has all the performance and wing to have massive margins. Not an issue at all. So it's just, it's lovely. It's really, really nice. Manual throttle, like I say, I didn't install that, so I'm going to bring the thrust back to climb thrust whilst we accelerate. I bring the flaps and slats fully in. What we can do is if we go into our flight plan, I'm going to select Compton as a direct waypoint by reselecting it into this line 2 here, so it's magenta. I'm going to engage nav, flight level change, autopilot. So the airplane now, let's just bring it up to 250 knots, is in lateral navigation, so it's turning right towards Compton, and it's going to level off at 6,000 feet, so that's why a cell is showing. You can also synchronize the heading bug, by the way. You see it's pointing behind us. If you just click on the bug, it just synchronizes. Love that feature. I wish that Boeing had that. All day at work, I'm constantly having to synchronize the heading bug, and I do think it'd be nice if it could do this. And there you go. We're in autopilot. It's in out mode now, and that's great. Let's imagine air traffic clears us to climb, and let's go and give it a bit of a rocket climb. So we'll go up to, let's go try and get up to 40,000 feet, just for the sake of it, as it can go up to 50. 40,000 feet, I'm going to press flight level change, and then I'm going to move the throttles manually to my climb thrust D10. So they're in climb, they'll go to 85.4% M1, and the airplane will try and maintain the speed we have here, 250 knots. You can, of course, adjust this accordingly. Now we have VNAV, so you could engage VNAV, and it should go to climb profile, so it's going to do its 250 knots, and it's in its VNAV flight level change mode, as it were. If you come down to this navigation display, we can even see the VNAV profile by selecting, I'll just show you that again, MFD setup, vertical profile, and you'll see here, this shows you what altitude it expects to be and where, and if you increase the range, it will show you when you're going to reach the top of climb. So it thinks we'll get to flight level 400 just after Midhurst. This is a feature that Boeing 787 has, and it's a fantastic situational awareness tool. So actually, we might well get up there. I'll leave it at climb thrust. We can now synchronize the engine fans, so we have engine synchronized. This stops that sort of harmonizing or humming between the two engines. So if I put it to fan, it will base it on the front fan. So I'm going to do that. And now you can see the VNAV has automatically changed the climb speed to 300 knots. So it's going to go to 300 knots as we're above 10,000 feet and then convert to a max speed. So we're just rocketing away now. I'm going to let it climb as it wants to because I want to see the performance of this airplane. Some other things you can do, you can choose to have airport showing on here. You can see it does get quite cluttered quite quickly. And you can adjust the range of this dial down here. So very straightforward, but slightly old school in its own way. The V speeds, by the way, for takeoff, you can set in here yourself, but if you have it in auto, it takes it from the FMS. So we saw how we did those earlier, so that's great. Landing speeds are also set up in here. Automatic is the way to leave those. We can have a look at some different engine displays over here. If I go to engine, we'll see some more engines such as which FADEC system's in control, the start pressure. So that's where we can check that it does have some pressure from the APU bleed, things like that. Check any new messages. Fuel and hydraulics, we got pressure and the temperatures. It's great. It's all here. It all works. Autopilot modes, there are lots and lots of those. So if I go to, for example, vertical speed, I can just press VS and then select the vertical speed I want. And you can see that down here, 2,100 feet per minute. But remember, if you don't have the auto throttle system, like we don't today, it will just keep accelerating and it will ignore everything and just fly 2,000 feet per minute. So I actually would rather leave it in V nav flight level change, because that way it would do the right speed for what we want and get that climb going. Look at that, roaring through 15,000 feet at 4,800 feet per minute. We're in nav mode, so it's following the flight plan, all looking good. Yeah, awesome. And look at that, we're already way up here. It's just so fast, and this is what you'd expect. I think there could be a lot of fun to be had with this aeroplane. So we've done the takeoff. So after takeoff time, landing gear is up, flaps and slats are up, throttles are in climb, anti-ice system is not required, engine sync we've done to the fan. Let's have a check of the pressurization. So over here we can see cabin altitude is at 4,000 feet. Cabin rate is about 700 feet per minute, and we should have a differential pressure, which we do, so that's a good sign. So it's working. Passenger advisory lights, altimeters, yes, of course, we need to go to standard. How do we do that? Dead easy. Standard. Button there. 1013. APU is already off. Next is the cruise checklist, so we'll do that in just a moment. So this is quite an airliner sort of flight deck now. By leaving it in the climb gate, the aircraft is going to just constantly adjust the N1s to match its target. So 88.5% is the climb rating for these engines at the moment. So it sets exactly that. It's just really straightforward. I like it. But I love these slightly older style FMSs. This makes it feel to me like a classic airliner. Remember, airliners don't change very often, whereas business jets come out and they're very new and fancy. So this has a real old school feel to it, which I do enjoy, I must say. So over here we have our FMS showing us our routing, and we are climbing up to 40,000 feet, and again our VNAV display is showing us that. So we can put in the arrival now, because we need to tell it where we're going. So we're landing at Gatwick, so if you press on the flight plan page, arrival, runway, we're going to land on runway 26 left, ILS, and let's come in via Timber, just to give us more room to keep flying this airplane. And that is it. I'm going to activate that. So that is the route. It has a discontinuity in it from Midhurst. And if I go to the next page, Timber. So I'm going to bring Timber, and I think we can just go direct to Timber. So let's say we've got cleared direct Timber from air traffic. You put it into the second line. This blue line is the previous waypoint. Don't get confused by that. So drop it in there, and now straight away, even without asking me, it's just going to route to Timber. And again, we can see the profile of the airplane here and whether it's going to reach the flight level we asked for. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It wants to go to the init because we've done the climb, we've done the weights. But what I want to do is if I go to perf, I can go to landing, and put in the runway. So it knows we're landing on runway 26 left at Gatwick. It knows the length of that. So what I'm going to do is tell it the wind. Now, if I can bring up the wind, EGKK, there it is. Look at that. How does it know? Very good. 320 at 10 knots, QNH 1014. 320 at 10. Temperature on the ground is 20 degrees Celsius. Good, so that's in. Then we go next page. I'm going to do a dry runway landing, and we're going to land with anti-ice off, flaps 35. And on our landing data page 2, we can see VREF and VAP. And those are automatic, remember. We don't need to do anything else, because if I go to landing speeds on here, it's auto and it's done at VAP 121. Okay, cabin altitude is a problem. I have not set up the cabin altitude correctly, I can tell. Maybe I should have actually set this dial correctly. I'm always terrible at these manual cabin altitude systems, because they are something that is now a thing of the past, thankfully. The cabin altitude isn't climbing too quickly, but the actual cabin altitude is getting close to 10,000 feet. We do have a diff pressure, so I'm surprised it's not doing any better. I'm certain this is my mistake. Here we go. I haven't turned on the bleed valves for the cabin, so we'll put them onto the low pressure valve. I imagine that will be plenty when we have the high power. Actually no, let's do HP LP, so that way I think it will be able to choose what pressure it uses. So that's going to now descend the cabin, and the cabin altitude should lower itself from where it is. Okay, good. I think we fixed that. And this is a great thing about this aeroplane. It's full of these great little tidbits. So it has a full ICAS system. It's warning me what's going on. That just shows that the systems are working in the background there. So cabin altitude, it's complaining. Thank you. And there you go. Now the bleed valve is working. Yeah, okay. It all makes sense. Good. So that should clear away now as that cabin descends back to a sensible position. 33,000 feet, 2,600 feet per minute, doing Mach 0.8. No trouble at all. And you'll see it's converted to Mach 0.8 because the airplane is in VNAV. But we're going to just fly this arrival background and in. So let's synchronize the heading bug. So we've set up the performance. I don't need the tablet anymore. And we're going to fly the ILS. You'll see it has automatically tuned 110.9. So it's tuned the ILS for me down here. It's super easy. I've told the FMS what I'm doing. It's taken it, put it into the radios, and you'll see later on that it already brings up the glide slope and localizer for us. It's just great. Now there's a slight problem with this VNAV page, so I'm actually going to, because that's no good at all, we're going to be at 40,000 feet. It's a bit confused about where we are because of the way I've done this. So I'm going to level off the airplane sooner. Let's imagine air traffic control gets us to stop here at 35,500. So I'll go to out, and now you can see the airplane actually wants me to descend straight away to make the descent profile. Just out of interest, let's imagine we're in heading for a little while. Let's just see what we can do with the airplane, how high and fast we can get it to go. So here we are. We are currently at 46,000 feet, doing Mach 0.9. This is faster and higher than any of the big commercial airliners go. 787, like I say, up to 43,000 feet, same as the 777, sort of 350. That's as high as they reasonably go, and they don't do that very often, and they certainly don't go at Mach 0.9. So yeah, we are whizzing along. I mean, absolutely brilliant. I'm now going to bring the throttles back to cruise power, 89% N1, or the fan speed, and then we can hopefully see it should just sit somewhere up here. Yes, just awesome. This would get you where you're going in no time. You're above the weather up here as well. It's unlikely thunderstorms will reach you up here, so you'll be able to get more direct routings, which will save you more time. There are thunderstorms that go this high, and you don't want to fly over massive ones, but in general you'll be above most of the weather. Also, you're above the other traffic, so you can get a routing direct to where you want to go, no trouble at all. Speaking of which, let's go back to Mayfield. So I'm just going to reselect it in there, and then I'm going to put the airplane into nav mode. And now we're going to fly a huge great turn. Look at that, 25 nautical miles to turn the airplane around, because we are just going along so fast. So it's fantastic. I really like it. All pilots like big numbers, and this is amazing. But yeah, you'd have a very quiet life up here. When I fly across the Atlantic, you do occasionally on TCAS see an airplane sitting way above you, or you notice some lights and you have a look above you to see what's there, and it'll be one of these business jets just whizzing along way above everyone else, above the North Atlantic tracks. It's awesome. There we go. Look at this flight deck. So cool. Such a great sort of timepiece of this era of aviation. So we have our arrival set up. The airplane does want to descend soon, so really I should let it. If we wind the range out, let's have a look. Oh, we need to return that. There we go. Now it becomes a range ring. And what we can do is we can begin our descent. First of all, I'll put the altitude window. Let's imagine we're cleared down to 10,000 feet. And it's a bit like a Boeing actually. So it's in V alt, but if I press VNAV, sorry, and we're in LNAV, and then it should begin its descent when it calculates the top of descent, but we may have missed it already, so I might need to put in flight level change and bring the throttles back to idle myself, and we'll bring the airplane into the descent to capture that path. Now you'd probably want to be quite gentle with these engines up here. It's going to be pretty cold outside, and you've been at pretty high power, so yeah, nice and gentle. Speed will come back to the flight level change speed. Then I'm hoping the airplane will start its descent. There we go. Back on the speed. Bring the throttles back. So we are above the profile. I would imagine that's why. But I have, if you set up your flight correctly, not like this, you'd have, there you go, there's our profile here, this magenta arrow. So we're clearly above it. And I can actually use the speed brakes on this airplane to get us closer to it. So we'll deploy those. So it's going to get a real rate of descent going here. And you can see that path is armed because I'm in VNAV. So just like a Boeing, we're above the profile. This arrow is beneath me, and it's not showing me my profile here because it was just too high on it. So if I get the airplane down quicker, and I can do that in a few ways, then it will go into path. This white mode is armed, so that will swap over and go into VNAV path. Now it is really going down, 10,000 feet per minute. I didn't expect it to be this aggressive of a descent. Look at that angle. I wonder if there's a limit on these speed brakes, because you would not be popular with your VIP customers with a deck angle of 15 degrees nose down. You would notice that. So your ears be popping. There we go. So it's sailed through, but that's the VNAV path there, and it's engaged path mode. So the only thing you have to do is, if you haven't got auto throttles like us today, we need to be very careful that we don't get slow. So you've got to manage the power yourself. You can see now we're out of climb thrust. The sync light is showing, so the engines are synchronizing with each other for that maximum comfort. What I might do though is let's have another shortcut. Let's go straight to the ILS. So if I go flight plan, next, we'll go center fix, put that into the magenta, the second line, and now the airplane will recalculate its profile. And I'm hoping we can descend down and regain the path. There you go, VNAV flight level change, that's what I want. It wants to do Mach decimal 8 because it's in VNAV, but hopefully it will regain the path in just a moment. There we go, VNAV path, and it's armed 10,000 feet. Now you'll notice the plane's going up and down. This is not a well-managed descent. That's because I've been messing around with the modes, and also it's unrealistic to have put the airplane up at 41,000 feet, then try to dive it down and so on, as we've done. But it is interesting to see how quickly this airplane can get away from you with the energy. Look at the trail there. So anyway, we're a little bit more steady now. We've set up our approach speeds. We've set up our arrival in the box. So let's run our descent checklist. So we've done the cruising. We've sorted out the throttles and fuel transfer is not going to be an issue today. Next we'll turn on the left and right hand windshield anti-ice switches. We have to turn these on now because, so put them into mid position, because obviously the airplane is going to be cold from up in the cruise, so we don't want them frosting up in the descent. Pressurization, landing elevation, anti-ice switches, APU not required, exterior lights and altimeter. Well, we're still going to a flight level. Next is the approach checklist, so we'll do that as we get a bit lower. So now we're on the profile, there's 300 knots, but it's maintaining VNAV path as a primary mode. And we're heading straight up to the ILS, which is automatically tuned, and we're going to center fix 26 left. Pretty straightforwards. Let's get set up for the approach. I know we're still at 24,000 feet, but the platform altitude is down at 2,000 feet. It's quite low actually. So I'm going to put 2,000 feet into the window. Remember, this little switch is not realistic. The one you would actually use is down here. Altitude is over there, but it's just a real pain. So let's put in 2,000 feet in the window. Let's go onto QNH. See if I can figure that one out. There we go. Yeah. So we want QNH of 1014, which is set. You can also put in your minimums, by the way. So on the right, rad out or barrow. So we can put in, I'm not actually sure we won't check the chart today. Let's just go for 400 feet as the weather's nice. And you see we're getting slow on our target speed. So I need to add a little power. Just squeeze the power on. I'm going to turn off the sync now, ready for the approach. You can probably run it a bit longer, but you don't want it on if you're trying to go around. You just want maximum power available. It doesn't matter if the engines are a little bit noisier than normal. You just need the power if you need it. And now it's all working in our favour. Like I say, normally at this point in the video I do a bit of manual flying. So I just turn off the autopilot for a moment, go to idle thrust, speed brakes out. I'm just curious to see a stall. Not something you'd expect to get this aeroplane into given its size and shape. We don't like stalling swept wing aircraft like this, but it just looks stunning, doesn't it? Absolutely awesome. So what I'm going to do is get the speed right back. A couple of S-turns here. Like I say, it's just, I've really enjoyed hand flying it. I find it quite easy to fly even without the autopilot and flight directors. You can see we've gone off the profile here. Let's get the nose up and just see how it stalls. Just going to need a bit of nose up trim. It's starting to get upset. We put the stabilizer in a very, very nose up position. Let's get the wings level. Hear the stick shaker, still warning left and right, nose up. It's got a huge amount of elevator power, and eventually it does drop. Is that from a stick? Yeah, there's the shaker animation. That's awesome. Yeah, so it's got a stick pusher that's pushing the nose down. That's what you want from a T-tail. You don't want to accidentally stall them. So if I try again, get that angle of attack up. And you do actually have the angle of attack over here. So I put it right up. It goes off the scale high though. Just hold it there. I just want to see that stick pusher. Push that nose down. 40 degrees nose up. Ridiculous. There it goes. And it's fighting it out of my hand. It's trying to push the nose down. And there it goes. Although actually I've managed to overpower it. We are full through into the stall. So let's see if we can recover this. Now this is dangerous in the T-tail because the wings send turbulent air over the tail and you lose the elevator potentially, and you can no longer get control or get the nose back down. That's why you have stick pushers in T-tail aeroplanes. Oh, as I was putting there, slight tendency for the wing to drop. Anyway, nose down, we're getting power on, speed's recovering, gently pulling back, and let's try and recover the airplane. But like I say, it's a very nice hand flying machine, no doubt about it. I'll just put the trimmer back somewhere sensible. We'll get a load of power on now. Let's go full thrust, get the speed back up where we want it, regain that profile. What I can do is, if I put the autopilot in, and I can just put vertical speed with a gentle descent rate. We are low on the profile, and you can see the profile here now. Look at that. Actually, if we put it into alt, and I have VNAV armed, it should now fly level, hopefully at 9,000 feet. It wants to be doing 250 knots because we're below 10,000 feet. But this is where you can see this vertical speed display vertical situation display or vertical display working nicely. So it's got us at 9,000 feet. So here's the top of descent marker coming up. At that moment, it will then carry on down. And I know it will because it says path, it's armed. So I just want to make sure it can actually do it. Otherwise it will revert to out. So I need to put in the 2,000 feet altitude in the window. So that's what I want it to level off at. So now it will do the descent. It won't otherwise. And you can see the magenta 2000 here. If I put in a lower altitude, so like 1700 feet, it will still stop at 2000 feet because it has 2000 shown here in magenta. That is the altitude limit there, and you'll see that on the flight plan page as well, 2000. So it will actually stop. It's a bit like the managed mode on the Airbus or VNAV on the Boeing. So I'll just leave it at 2000. If I left it at 9000, I believe it would just ignore the descent. It would miss it and go to a different mode. So there we go, 250 knots, 9,000 feet, we begin our descent down. Go and join the ILS. There's our descent beginning now, and it's reverted to VNAV path, and altitude select is armed and ready in the background. Bringing the throttles back now. I'm hoping this will be a roughly idle descent profile. You have some more interesting buttons around the flight deck, such as the flight control shut-off in case of hydraulic issues or any issues with the flight control systems. You've also got this thrust reverser. You can force it to stow in case they deploy accidentally. And then you have different ways of displaying needles, so we can have the FMS waypoint shown here, you know. But typically, I'm not too interested in having that. It looks like the descent is expecting to be close to idle. As I bring the range in, it should all become clear. And now the white triangles showing me the localizer and the glide slope. So this magenta is obviously the FMS position, and the white is the radio position. So it's automatically happened for us, which is really, really great. We've got 14 miles to run to the runway. No, we don't. We have 14 miles to run to centerfix 26 left. I was going to say, otherwise we're going to be a bit short on there, or a bit fast. They're just cruising in now. Lovely. Absolutely love it. By the way, this is the LCD screen. This is the CRT that we've been using. For me, it's a no-brainer. I love the CRT, the curve in it. And the LCD is very modern, but it's a bit sterile, a bit cool. I think the warm CRT is just fantastic. However, in the real world, operating with a CRT, if it doesn't have very good brightness, can be difficult, whereas LCDs tend to have better brightness and contrast. You can make them easier to see when the sun is shining right in your eyes. But in this simulator, love the CRT. Definitely going with that. This is a little auto throttle module. I haven't tried this out yet. There you go. You can just engage it like that. Auto throttle system using the FMS speed. Now it should accelerate to 250 knots and maintain us on the VNAV profile. Dead easy. So you could fly around like that, leave it in FMS mode, or set it to manual and then choose your speed bug, and then you can adjust that, I believe, with this. Oh, I'm not sure where the little speed dial would be. Oh, it's there. There you go. So you adjust this bug, and that will force the auto throttle to adjust for the speed. But that's cheating. Let's turn that off. No auto throttle. Thank you. But very neat that that's included. So if you want to fly longer sectors and not have to constantly monitor the throttles, then that's a nice way to do it. And if I owned one of these aircraft, I would definitely have auto throttle system. Let me be very clear about that. The only reason I'm suggesting I wouldn't for this is just for the fun. You know, we're doing a short flight. But if I want to fly this around the world, then I want auto throttle. Okay, we're coming through 3,000 feet. You can see the descent profile working out. It's going to level at 2. Our glide slope slightly above us. The localizer is just on the right, coming in soon. So I'm going to arm approach mode. And on the left in white, localizer is armed. On the right, glide slope is armed. Last 500 feet until we level off. Speed washing back now. Excellent. Next checklist will be done the descent. Yep. Done the approach. So next is the before landing. But it's pretty straightforward. We're just going to reduce the speed back. So we don't really need that. Right, we're coming in quite fast, but that's what I would expect. I'm in a business jet. It's gone to green as it's gone into the radio navies now. There's our V approach and VREF showing automatically. Flying level, the speed washes off quickly. Let's just make it sure it intercepts the glide slope, which it does. And we'll go slats. And I think we'll go flat 5 straight away as well. We can go all the way to flat 15 now because we're below that bug. And I'm going to lower the landing gear. What does it say actually? 210 knots for down. So we're just below the landing gear speed. Large amounts of drag from that. They are quite big wheels. By the way, trading link landing gear like this tend to land very nicely. So I'm hoping you'd have smooth landings in this aeroplane. We're below the flat 35 speeds. There's flat 15. Start to trickle on the power now, just so we don't get caught out. It does decelerate very quickly, even without speed brakes. And finally, flaps 35. Lots of drag now, so trickling the power on. Airplane's starting to stabilise, still quite fast actually. We'll take the power off. I thought it would slow down a bit quicker than that. Okay, and there's our V approach speed. The A is approach speed, R is the VREF speed. A little too much power. We're barely using those engines. Look at the approach power in a modern airline is often in the 50% N1. We're at 37% here. Maybe we need a bit more. Let's try 40, just to hold it there. Good. So on landing, we're going to close the throttles and deploy the speed brakes ourselves. Then once the nose is down, we can go for the brakes and reversers. We don't need thrust reverser today. We've got plenty of runway. A little bit more power. I don't want to come in slow. So yeah, about 40% seems to be a pretty steady N1. Autopilot off. It's slightly out of trim, just because it was just adjusting as I took out the autopilot. A bit more power needed. A bit more nose out. Not too much though, or you'll do that. It will go right through the glide slope, no trouble at all. Just a little bit slow, power on. VREF is perfectly safe to be at, but we don't want to get any slower than that. Over the threshold. Into the flare. Throttles to idle. There's touchdown. Speed brakes up. Keeping the wings level. It does suffer from any sort of crosswind, and you will notice. Let's get the nose down. And we're on the brakes. I'm sure you could have done that quicker than that, but that's just me getting used to this aeroplane. And we'll bring it to a stop on the runway. There it is. What a machine. What we've done with it today. How high and fast we've been. Like a rocket. So that's all for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I say, this is the FlightFX Cessna Citation X. It's out now for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024. As I said, this was sent to me for free, but all the thoughts and opinions have been my own in today's video. I just wanted to show it to you, see what you think of it, and give you a taste for it. It's a different machine. I don't do many business jets on the channel, but I really enjoyed it. I like FlightFX's P180 Piaggio, and this is no surprise. It's a step up on that. It flies really nicely. But the aircraft itself is so interesting, and I love that sort of 90s flight deck. I think that's really great. Really suits me in my era of aviation. But you decide what you think based on today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been a bit of fun to go and climb up and try out such a fast and powerful machine. We'll see you again in another video or live stream soon. So do please subscribe if you'd like to see those. We'll have more guides, videos and tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.